Alright guys, Finn Kenny here, the Combat Sports Nutritionist. Not anyone, I am the Combat Sports Nutritionist. And what I do is, I help boxers, MMA fighters and Muay Thai athletes fuel the training camps and make weight with ease. It's very simple, there's nothing complicated about it. But today what I want to show you guys how to do, you fighters, is how to make weight the right way. I'm going to teach you some of the methods that I like to use with some of my fighters, which you can apply to your own individual situations and scenarios. So literally, let's just get straight into it. Now, what we're looking at here is how to make the weight, dietary manipulation, so changing different parts of your diet, water loading, so increasing your fluid intake and bringing it down in order to bring the scale weight down. Obviously, refueling and rehydration after you've made weight. There's no use making this weight using all these draining methods and not getting the refueling and rehydration done the professional and efficient way. Okay, we need to look at carbohydrate replenishment post-weighing. We need to look at the carbohydrate replenishment for different weight classes. We need to look at some of the weight cutting examples, some of the food and some of the high carb foods you should be consuming after your weighing. Now, what we need to look at is when we're cutting weight, we need to look at how much you should actually be cutting, because a lot of guys get this wrong. They think that they need to cut large amounts of weight all the time. Now, the reason why we'd actually cut weight for a fight in the first place is to have basically a competitive advantage over the opponent, and particularly in MMA, boxing, Muay Thai, what we'll do is we'll acutely, so in the short term, we'll cut weight, so we'll bring the body weight down quite rapidly, and then we'll look to pack that size on after the weighing. So essentially what that means is you come down a weight class, you lose all that weight, put it back on, and you're a lot stronger and bigger than your opponent. It really is that simple. Now, I've got a table here showing you how much weight you should be cutting if you do different types of weight. So you've got like a 10%, 8%, 5%, 4%, and obviously you want to be going for the 4 to 5% to minimise the damage, because what you've got to bear in mind is whenever you're cutting weight, the more you cut, the more difficult it's going to be for you to rehydrate and refuel, and you might not be able to do it effectively. So always minimise that weight cut, because it's going to be good for your energy levels in your fight. You're not going to gas out, and your longevity, because you don't want to be repeating the same process and cycle year on end. Do you know what I'm saying? So a couple of things that we're trying to do is manipulate parts of your diet. So a lot of guys make the mistake of cutting everything out straight away, weeks and weeks before the fight, and that's not the way to do it. So what you actually want to do, first of all, is, I've got it in brackets here, you want to make sure that you're lowering your carbohydrates 7 to 10 days out. If you've got less weight, 7 days out. If you've got more weight to get rid of, 10 days out. So you want to be going anywhere from 100 to 150 grams of carbs. Now, the reason why you would do this is because you're starting the weight descent process early. You're depleting glycogen, which is stored to water within your muscle cells and your liver, and that's going to pretty much build up a big part of your body weight, and we want to basically get that down. So the first step is to do that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of do all these steps together. Now, the main one we're going to do is 4 to 5 days out, we're going to reduce the fibre in your diet. So we're going to bring it down to 10 grams. And essentially what we're going for here, and why we're doing it, is we are lowering the amount of food inside your digestive tract, because what actually happens is when we consume fibre, it's a type of indigestible carbohydrate which still will remain in your body, and that's going to make you weigh a lot more than you think. Not many people actually realise that. So you want to take the fibre out. Okay, so you'll be avoiding foods like oats, nuts, sweet potato, brown bread, brown rice, foods which are higher in fibre, so you want to make them swaps. Another thing that we're going to do is we're going to lower your sodium at 4 to 5 days out. Now, I say 4 to 5 days out, you can actually do it 2 to 3 days out, but it all depends on how much weight you've got to cut. Essentially, the more weight you've got to cut, the earlier you'll take out, the less, the later. That simple. So essentially what you're doing is you're keeping your sodium to around 500 to 1,000 milligrams. It's still quite a low amount of sodium. Now, the reason why we do this is because wherever sodium goes, water follows. The more sodium and salt we've got in our diet, the more water, hence the more body weight we have got, and the heavier we're going to weigh. So we want to take that out. So we're going to be avoiding putting salt on food. No pink salt, no Celtic sea salt, no hidden seasoned sauces. Make sure you're checking everything, your fluids, everything. And a lot of foods, especially packaged foods, can have hidden amounts of sodium, which can creep your scale weight up, and you do not want that happening. So instead what you're going to do is 4 to 5 days out, when you've made them swaps to your diet, so you've lowered your fibre, your carbs, And your sodium is you're going to keep your protein and your dietary fat very high, because you still actually want to have some calories involved. And if you're not getting them calories from carbs, you need to get them from somewhere else, which is usually protein and fat, particularly fat, because we've got 9 calories per gram. A lot of people make this mistake actually. They think that whenever you're cutting weight, it's the same as losing weight. Now, usually when we lose weight, we're trying to decrease your fat mass, your fat stores, and that requires a calorie deficit over an extended period of time. So that's going to bring your body weight down and obviously your fat stores. But on fight week, like I say, we're acutely minimising your scale weight. We're trying to bring your scale weight down, but we're trying to manipulate your total body water so we can still keep our calories at maintenance. We just have to make these dietary adjustments, which I'm taking you through here, okay? Now, another thing which I want you to bear in mind is your food volume on fight week. So basically, you want to be consuming foods which are going to weigh less, because if their foods weigh less, they're going to weigh less in your stomach, which means that you're going to weigh less on the scales the next day, and you're going to make weight easier. So you want to be going for high water content vegetables like red peppers, asparagus, foods which are also calorie dense, so you can have a small amount but still have a high amount of calories. And I'm talking things like butter, I'm talking things like lamb, I'm talking things like ribeye steaks, sirloin steaks, eggs, chicken thighs. So usually fatty cuts of meat and high fat foods. Even peanut butter's a good one. There's an endless list of them, but obviously they're just a few examples of foods that you can be consuming. Now, on this screen here, I've got an example of basically some of the meals that you could be eating on fight week in order to actually make the weight. So you can see you've got things like omelettes, you've got your peppers, as I mentioned before, your chicken thighs, your butter. You can even have ice cream, just make sure it's 200 grams or less, because the weight is really important. Like I said, you want to minimise the weight in your body, the food you eat, so your scale weight's a lot lower. You've got things like your salmon, which again, high in fat, low in volume. You've also got other examples, you know, could go on for ages, lean beef mince. You've got your eggs. So you can see what the common themes are here. So just make sure you're bearing this in mind whenever you're basically setting your diet up on fight week. Now, a big thing on fight week in order to rapidly lose weight is water loading. Now, water loading works for some fighters and it doesn't work for others. So what I recommend you do is, before actually jumping into a water load on fight week, is trialing some different methods to see exactly how your body responds. You don't want to go into fight week not knowing whether the method's going to work a lot. Okay, because some fighters I've worked with and have come across in the past respond really well to water loads, like the weight just comes off like that. And then some other guys, it just doesn't come off because maybe some other parts of the diet aren't changed properly. Maybe some sweating methods haven't been done correctly. But in terms of the actual water loading, what we're doing is here we're tricking hormones in your body. We're tricking aldosterone, which is responsible for retaining sodium, and we're also tricking ADH, antidiuretic hormone, or vasopressin. And what we're actually doing is we're increasing your fluid intake temporarily, and then we bring it down. And what actually happens is it's a delayed response. So you don't lose weight at first, but you lose it in 2 to 3 days after you've done the water load. And what you do is you just can't carry on continuously peeing and sweating, and in turn you're going to lose more water weight and obviously weigh less and make the weight easier. Now, some of the methods that I like to use with fighters which are evidence-based and do actually know to work are this. So what we'll do is we'll trial 50 ml per kilogram for 3 days. We'll do a 60 ml, a 75 and 100 ml. And then what we'll do is we'll bring it down to 15 mils on the final day. So that's when we do the fluid restriction, and we'll try and cut that off as early as we possibly can in the day. Now, what you need to realise is that with this fluid intake, you're not going to be used to drinking this amount of fluid. It's quite excessive, and that's why I reiterate the importance of doing this earlier on in your camp so you know what's going to work for you, because it can be quite daunting and quite sort of challenging when you're increasing your fluid intake to such high amounts like this. But what you've got to remember is that if you are using these evidence-based protocols, nothing is going to happen unless you decide to drink more than you set yourself. So obviously don't do that. Now, I've got some other water loading techniques here, and these are a little bit more in-depth and a bit more specific to different fighters. Now, there's a couple that I'm going to take you through here. So now, if you've got a small weight cut and you want to do a water load, you usually only need to go for a light one because you don't need as much weight to get off. Now, this is one that I like to use with fighters who've got around 2 to 3.5 kilograms to cut on the week of the fight. And what we'll do is, let's say, for example, the weigh-in's on the Friday. We'll start that water load from Saturday. So we'll go 4 litres Saturday, Sunday and Monday, and then bring it down to 3 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday. We'll Go 1.5 on Thursday, and then Friday 1 litre, maybe even less if they've got more weight to cut. Now this is going to be a really good one in order to cut weight, especially if you've got that small amount to get off. Now, another weight cut that I used to like to use, a water loading technique, is a last minute weight cut. Now some fighters might come to me or ask me some advice maybe 3 or 4 days before the fight. Now this one I'd use 8 litres on the Tuesday, 4 litres on the Wednesday, and then bring it right down to a litre on the Thursday. And let's say, for example, the weigh-in's on the Friday, you'd probably consume minimal water again, then maybe a litre, and just cut it off early so you don't weigh more the next day. So that's essentially what I'll do, and I'll reiterate here again, we're tricking them hormones in your body in order to elicit a response where you're peeing and constantly getting rid of water so you weigh less. It really is a simple and effective process, but like I say, make sure you're trialling it out. Now, what we've also got to look at here is when you've made the weight, how you rehydrate properly. Now, a lot of fighters do this wrong, and they make the mistake of, after making the weight, of drinking fluid and drinking water rapidly and thinking that's going to rehydrate you. It's not the case. You've got to realise what your body needs after weighing in order to take that fluid in, because if you're drinking water, you don't get it into the cells, muscle cells, you just pee it out, and then that can be quite fatal because we're trying to hold on to the fluid. So we need the electrolytes. We need the sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium. Your body's going to hold on to that fluid. And you also need the water, but you need to get it in at the correct weight. Now, in this example here, we can look at how you could actually rehydrate after weighing. And you want to start at 15 minutes after you've done the weighing. Now, you always want to replace 150% of the fluid you've lost, especially on a day before weighing. So let's say, for example, we've got a hypothetical fighter here who's lost 4.8 kilograms on fight week. He needs to replace 7.2 litres in total. He's going to spread this across the weighing day. So 15 minutes after weighing, 300 ml water, 1 liquid IV electrolyte sachet. It doesn't have to be this brand, but any kind of electrolyte sachet that's got the electrolytes I've just named is going to be efficient and effective for you. Then what you want to do is you want to wait another 15 to 20 minutes. You want 400 ml water, you want to scoop of maltodextrin powder, which is a fast-acting carbohydrate, which is going to absorb really easy. And then you want half a teaspoon of Celtic sea salt. It's got all the electrolytes and minerals you need, and this combined together is going to be really good for retaining that fluid, right? Then you want to get a third drink in, and you want to wait again 15 to 20 minutes. You want 500 ml of a Blue Burst Lucozade, or you can use any other sports drink. You could use Gatorade. You could also use like a Lucozade Sport, any kind of sports drink which has got the sugar in it. Okay, then you want the scoop of creatine monohydrate with it. Again, the creatine is going to be really good for retaining water, and it's going to be good combined with the carbs, powder, the fluid, and the sea salt. Then what you want to do is you want to look at how much fluid you've got then to replace, and we want to do this gradually so you can take it in. So you've got 5.8 litres of fluid to get back in, which basically means you need 1 litre of fluid per hour. Now, it's going to be pretty shit drinking fluid and water on its own. I would not like to do that. So what you want to do is you want to mix it with a cordial or a squash, like a diluting juice. So you want maybe like a Vimto or an orange juice. Just skip this guy there, didn't actually mean to do that. Now, okay, let's have a look. Now, this is the most important part after your rehydration. We want to get the carbs in. We want to restore your glycogen as quickly and as effective as we possibly can. So no Nando's, no Pizza Hut, no KFC, and no kebabs or any takeaways after weight. I know you're hungry, I know it's tempting, but do not do it. It's not going to be beneficial. It's not going to be advantageous to your performance. You're going to get into that fight in the ring, you're going to be gassing, you're going to be blowing out your backside, and it's not going to be effective for your performance because, listen, nobody wants that. Now, a few different rules, okay, that I like to use. Like glycogen depletion, you want 4 to 5 grams of carbs per kilogram body weight. Let's say, for example, you cut 2 to 3 kilograms. That's what you want to be going for there, the 4 to 5 grams per kilogram. Moderate glycogen depletion, 6 to 7 grams of carbs. So this one will be anywhere from 4 all the way up to around 5 kilograms cut on fight week. And then you've got the heavy depletion, which is 8 to 12 grams per kilogram of body weight. Again, this is around 6 all the way up to 8 kilograms cut on fight week. So you're going to need to rapidly and significantly replenish your glycogen stores, so you've got that energy, you've got the carbs stored in your muscles so you can use them when you're fighting. Now, a couple of things to bear in mind when you're reintroducing carbs into your diet and you're trying to restore your glycogen. Don't try and do it all at once. You want to reintroduce the carbs slowly. You want to begin with liquid and gel carbs, which are going to be easy to digest for your body. You're going to get that digestive system working. You're going to get all them carb transporters working in your body so you can actually utilise and absorb them. It's very important to do that. You want to slowly build it up to whole foods, right? Solid foods. When I'm talking whole foods, I'm talking your pastas, your rice, etc., your burritos. Now, you also want to make sure you are reaching your requirements for carbs. So if you've got the 8 to 12 grams of carbs, you need to be using that. And you want to be spreading this across 5 to 6 meals. Don't try and do it over 1 or 2 meals. You're going to be bloated. You're going to feel crap. Honestly, I know loads of fighters who've come to me and said they've done that and they've told me how rubbish they've felt. So make sure you're not doing that. Now, we want to be prioritising low fat, low fibre, and obviously high carb foods. Carbohydrates, which are high in the glycemic index, basically, it spikes your blood sugar levels quick and it absorbs fast. And them carbs, which are going to be high in fibre, are going to slow down that absorption of the lowering glycemic index, and they're not going to replace your carbs as quickly as you need them to be done. Again, guys, we're not focusing on health for you. We're not trying to prevent diabetes. We're not trying to, nourish your body. We're trying to replenish your carbohydrates as quickly and as effectively as possible. Make sure you bear that in mind, and I'll say it as many times as I need to. Okay, so that is essentially how you would rehydrate and refuel after you've done a weight cut and how you would do it. Now listen guys, I hope you like this information. If you want to watch some more videos and you want some more information like this, specific for combat sports, hit that subscribe button and you get plenty more videos.